When we started moving beyond the easy first foods for our little one, the fruit and vegetables and simple purees, and we were beginning to buy more crackers and snacks, the pouches and spreads, and those healthy supermarket options, well, I realized I had absolutely no idea what I was looking at. I mean, why does one snack get those bright green A's, and yet nuts or hummus were getting C's or D's? Or why was crisps sometimes healthier when you had a bigger bag? And why do so many baby snacks look healthy while the ingredients list can tell a different story? If you ever stood in a supermarket aisle trying to decode a packet while your child was already reaching for it, this episode is for you. Hi, and welcome back to Damn Parenting. I'm your host Eva, and today I am doing something a little different. I'm taking the fascinating Dutch investigation TV show called Keuringsdienst van Waarde, apologies if that's not right, but I'm translating it into English and I'm breaking it down in a way that actually might make your next supermarket shop feel a little less confusing. So today's topic is about the Nutri-Score. This was actually published last week on April 10th, I think it was. It's about those little coloured letters on the front of all your food packets, A to E, green to red. They're supposed to help us make quick, healthier choices. I just said on all food packets, but it's not. When I first started introducing solids and moving into the toddler snack phase, I found those labels strangely reassuring. A was good, B was all right, C and D and E, I can make a better choice. So in this show, they started comparing these products, and honestly, it got weird fast. They had the same paprika chips. A small bag was a C, the large bag was a B. Same flavor, same ingredients, same brand, and yet a different letter. They also took salted peanuts. How can you get a different kind of peanut, right? But they scored differently depending on which supermarket they came from. There was an A, a B, and a C. They looked at frozen cream spinach from the same brand on the same shelf with the same packaging, but it had two different scores, sitting side by side. They had a food scientist in the supermarket as they shopped around. He was visibly confused. So this is where the story can get good. The team traveled to Paris to speak to one of the co-creators of the Nutri-Score system. And this is the bit that suddenly can click. Nutri-Score was first officially introduced to France in 2017 and then gradually spread across countries like Belgium, Germany, Spain, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. And this is a really important part. It is not mandatory. Brands and supermarkets can choose whether or not to use it. And the voluntary nature is exactly where the cracks start to show. The co-creator explained that the Nutri-Score was never designed to compare foods across different shelves. It was only meant to compare products within the same category. I don't know about you, but as a parent, I don't know what category is what. If it's on the same shelf, then maybe yes, I can understand it, but how am I meant to know what category they can sit in? So a B on crisps simply means this is one of the better crisp options. It doesn't mean that crisps are suddenly a healthy snack. And this is why it can feel so confusing as parents, because we can compare across the shelves at any stage. We've got crackers or fruit bars, breadsticks to rice cakes, yogurt melts to dried fruit, pouches to banana slices. A snack is a snack. It just comes in different forms. And that's how real life family shopping actually works. So the show took a step further. It then went into the algorithm. Yeah, there's an algorithm for this too. So the algorithm only sees nutrients: sugar, salt, saturated fat, fiber, and protein. It doesn't actually understand how processed a food really is, which means manufacturers can learn how to optimize the formula. The show demonstrated how a brownie could be reformulated to score an A. They swapped the sugar for sweeteners, they boosted fiber with chicory root inulin, they adjusted the flour to be whole wheat, and they added apple puree. And suddenly that score was A. It was brilliant. The food itself, though, well, it was highly engineered and probably not as tasty as a real proper brownie. And because the creators know that this is becoming a bigger issue, there is already discussion about adding a black border around the Nutri-Score logo just to flag ultra-processed foods. So even if something scores really well nutritionally, you can still visually see that there's a warning that it has been heavily reformulated. And honestly, that would be incredibly helpful. But we're not there yet. That black label distinction that has been proposed, well, it's not been rolled out. So for now, A highly processed product can still carry the lovely green A or B, but with no clear signal that the score has been strategically optimized. And this is the part that honestly made me pause as a parent, because most of us do not have that luxury of making every cracker or pouch or breadstick or toddler snack from scratch. We are shopping between naps and nursery pickups, work deadlines, dinner, and trying to get everyone fed before someone melts down. Sometimes the toddler, sometimes us. So we are, whether we realize it or not, passively relying on food brands to be honest with us. We trust the colors, we trust the wording, and we trust that if something carries a bright green A, someone somewhere has made sure that that means something real to us. But sometimes honesty is not the thing that makes the conglomerate the money it would like. And this is where we are in 2026. In 2023, they implemented a stricter algorithm, which is now pushing some previously healthy-looking products into worse scores. And now in 2026, the change should have happened as they were given 2 years to adapt and change with their markings on all their products. But some of those brands are now doing the easiest thing possible. They simply removed the Nutri-Score altogether, then showing that they got downgraded. And because the system is voluntary, that is entirely allowed. So if the letter helps sales, it stays, but if it hurts, it quietly disappears. That's also part of why food lobbying across Europe has worked so hard to keep a system like this from becoming mandatory EU-wide, because the moment high sugar or heavily ultra-processed foods are forced to show their letters, the shelf starts telling a much more honest story. This episode also revisited a previous investigation that I thought was such a perfect example of how it works behind the scenes. They went back to a pizza research and development team that they had filmed before, and this team there openly showed how a salami pizza that would normally sit in an E could be pushed all the way up to a B. How? They added fiber to the dough, they enriched the tomato paste, they reduced the fat on the salami. So tweaking the recipe just enough to make the score better on paper. And yes, technically, the letter does improve, but that does not necessarily make it the kind of dinner most of us emotionally imagine when we think, now this is genuinely healthier food. So if you are in the thick of a daily food choice struggle right now, it is worth remembering. The Nutri-Score can be helpful, but it is not always as easy as our ABCs. The letters can guide you, but they do not tell a whole story. And because parenting in real life is not happening in the perfect kitchen with endless time to soak chickpeas and bake oat crackers from scratch, sometimes dinner is freezer pizza. Sometimes the snack pouch, it just gets thrown in the buggy basket because you just need to get out the door. And sometimes the only win is choosing the slightly better option from what is realistically available. And that is exactly why food brands owe families honesty. Not perfection, not guilt, just honesty. A clear label, a truthful ingredients list, and enough transparency that exhausted parents are not being asked to decode a marketing strategy while buying our Tuesday snack. If you're interested in these kind of episodes where we deep dive into certain things here in the Netherlands that even the Dutch even seem confused about it, well, I genuinely love this stuff and I really like the program. I genuinely love this stuff and I'm always happy to revisit Keuringsdienst van Waarde so we can make Dutch shopping feel a little less overwhelming, one aisle at a time. So if this kind of episode helps, these kind of deep dives into the Dutch supermarket systems or the products they have, hit me up. I'm always happy to revisit the Keuringsdienst van Waarde. If they have it available, I'll sit through it, I'll translate it, and I'll make it into a podcast episode for you. We all need a little bit of help here trying to navigate the Dutch system, whatever system that might be, even if it's just the system of shopping. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll speak to you next week.